What also makes a big difference are smart activists, groups doing smart organizing and smart work to push them to take the right positions. So that leads me to my second point, which is about sum of change. When I was at Netroots Nation, I actually think this is this video is actually about 1/5 of the story. So this was kind of a perfect storm that showed a lot of what is very exciting about what's happened and developed among progressive media and progressive infrastructure the last few years. For all that we have, for as far as we have come, it's always worth reminding oneself, soberingly, that we have nowhere near the reach of the conservative media. Fox plus Rush Limbaugh alone is 37 million people. 20 for Fox, 17 for Rush Limbaugh. Staggering numbers, you know. And they're very well funded, and as we saw with CPAC, for some reason, reactionary backlash anger always gets a lot of press. And I think tends to get somewhat sympathetic press generally. So they're able to kind of drive a media narrative. We saw CPAC was covered like crazy. So the question is, well, what do we do in response? And, you know, the left is never, hopefully, going to have the same kind of sort of broadcast, big bucks, top-down approach. It's going to be, hopefully, a much more grassroots approach, even though that provides its own obstacles. And what happened with this video, I think, is a perfect example of how it might work. And here's what happened. I was asked a question about the public option at a Netroots Nation panel. So first you have Netroots Nation, which again, remember, was completely organically organized the first time it happened. I mean, literally, a woman who was a diarist on the Daily Kos site was like, wait, maybe we should have a conference. And Marco was like, sure, if you guys can organize a conference, have a conference. And she was like, okay, cool. And I mean, this is literally the way it happened. And a bunch of people got together on the internet and made this conference happen. It was a huge success, and they've done it every year, and it's grown, it's grown. No one, you know, CPAC has huge, big money donors behind it, professional organizers putting it together. Netroots Nation, entirely this kind of grassroots phenomenon. It's been very successful. So the fact that Netroots Nation existed, that I was speaking there, was sort of a testament to this kind of ethos. I was speaking there, someone asked me a question about the public option, and I tried to explain it, and I was videoed because there was no other camera in the room but for Sum of Change. Sum of Change, again, another totally grassroots, organic enterprise in which they saw a niche that they needed to fill, which was providing video of progressive events and progressive speakers and getting it out quickly onto the internet and well edited. They took that video and they put it up online, and it got a ton of views because people at the time were like having a hard time figuring out just exactly what the public option was and how it was working. And then another person, a blogger by the name of Nicholas Boudreau, he was in the panel and he looked at that video and he created an actual flowchart. So he said, this is a flowchart based on what Chris Hayes was saying during that presentation, and because the video was up, he was able to reference it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to create the flowchart. Now, Nicholas Boudreau is not a professional. He's not getting paid a lot of money. You should read his blog because it's very good. But and he put up this flowchart, and then this flowchart went viral and started zipping around. And it ended up being Paul Krugman put the flowchart on the front page of his blog, and it got tremendous traffic. And in fact, I got emails from people, random people, saying, someone just emailed me this flowchart, I think based on something you said. I don't really understand the connection between the flowchart, but somehow your name is vaguely attached to it. Now, at each one of these points, there was someone doing, so there was, I think, at the end of this, a lot more people had a lot better understanding of the public option, and because of all these sort of links in the chain. And if it weren't for Sum of Change, none of those links would have happened. This would have disappeared into the ether, right? It would have just been the 40 people in the room. The flowchart never would have gotten made. It never would have gotten around. It never would have ended up on Paul Krugman's blog. And there would have been a lower level of understanding of just what people were fighting for.